Hey, my name is Sam. So what is ear candy? Ear candy is the small production detail that catches your ear and makes a song feel more alive. It could be a reverse swell, it could be a delay throw, it could be a vocal chop, it could be a piano that's been pitched up an octave, thrown through a bunch of reverb, delay, and then distortion, and then reversed, and then brought back down an octave. It can be so many different things. But the important thing is that ear candy is not just random stuff thrown into a track just to make it fill out some space. Good ear candy has a job. So in this video, I'm going to break down ear candy into three categories: identity, growth, and movement. Then I'll show you how to make your own ear candy as well in your own tracks. So like I said, the first kind of ear candy is identity. Identity is when the detail becomes part of what makes that section memorable. This is the most obvious use of ear candy because the design of the sound is so that way the section has its own personality. This could be a floor tom, a vocal texture, maybe it's a guitar feedback happening throughout this entire section, or a little response that happens in the vocal chop. So let's take a look at a song called Sleepwalking by Roz De La Cruz, which I helped to write, produce, and mix. And what we have is the very end of the chorus where we wanted to make this section feel very ethereal and kind of in your head sort of thing. And so let's just take a listen to what the vocal sounds like because we process the vocal in a specific way. So here we go. Okay, so we have a couple different things going, as you can see. There's distortion from a devil lock. There's a transient designer. What that's doing is trimming down some of the sustain. Then there's tremolo, which makes it sound very wavy. And then pan-man, which makes it go around your head. And then devil lock again for some more distortion. Another transient designer. And then finally RC20, which is doing even more distortion. And what we also did was made sure to include a clean blend between all this. So we have the lead that's there, that's got all the different sort of effects on it. And then we have, to give you a sense of clarity, the lead that's also in there. So let's hear what this sounds like in context of the entire track. Even at the end there, you can hear the vocals being fed through what sounded like a radio or something like that. So all these different production elements kind of add up to giving this sort of effect of feeling otherworldly. At least that was the design behind these different choices that we made. So the second kind of ear candy that we have is growth. Growth is what stops repeated sections from just sounding like they're copied and pasted. A second verse might have the same chords and melody as the first verse, but maybe shouldn't feel the exact same between the two of them. Same with the chorus. The first chorus might feel a little bit lighter and the second chorus might be a lot heavier. The thing with this kind of ear candy is that the listener does not always need to know the exact details of what is going on. They just need to know that the song is developing. So let's take a look at my song Satellites by Sunstation, which is my artist name. And what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the first chorus versus the second chorus in terms of the guitar part. So what we have is a part that I thought was too excessive when it was heard entirely as guitar. So I sent it through some processing. I can't quite remember exactly what it was, but I would suspect it would be something along the lines of the Genloss Mark II from Chase Bliss. Or maybe any of my other pedals that I currently have on here. I don't have the Genloss anymore, but either way, this is what it sounds like. Very chill sort of thing. And you'll notice that if you're listening with headphones, it's on the far left and the right side of the spectrum in terms of placement and panning and stuff. Here's a bit of context so that way we can hear it within the track. Do we really change? So yeah, it's just kind of sprinkled in there, you know, it's sparkling and stuff in like this weird degraded sort of way. And then here is the second chorus. So it's going to be the same parts, but we're going to hear it in a basically different sort of context. So here's how it sounds. You get the idea. And now let's hear it with everything going on all at the same time.
So do we really change? Do we really change?
So I hope that kind of showcases how we're growing from one section to the next by having a part that is inherently just a bit different. Even though it's the same part, it's still perceived differently because of the processing that's been done to it. So the third kind of ear candy is movement. And what happens here is movement is anything that helps us to understand the transition from one section to the next. So this is where terms like riser or maybe a subdrop would happen, or some sort of swell. Any of those I would consider movement ear candies. The point is not to just add like a cool sound, it's to help the listener feel that the song is changing from one section into the next and to get them ready for it. It's a way of essentially giving you a sense of breathing in before you breathe out on the one of the next section. That's a typical way to kind of see how a transition ear candy would operate. This is not to say that you need to add transition ear candies every single time you're moving from one section into the next. This is just a way for you to essentially pull the listener in or prepare them for getting into that next section. So let's take a look at another song called South by Roz De La Cruz, where I was fortunate enough to help with the writing and the producing and the mixing of this track as well. And what we have is a variety of different little swells that happen throughout the song to kind of help you just feel the movement as you're going from one section into the next. So I have to warn you, some of these can be pretty subtle. I will do my best to make sure that they're audible, but some of them are very much kind of baked into the track in a small way. So this is a much more subtle way to kind of use ear candy. So here we go. That's like a reverse guitar sort of thing happening with a bit of reverb afterwards. Here's a very soft sort of vinyl reverse swell. And again, so very bright sort of information. Here's another guitar feedback swelling thing. We also took the intro of the track, which you don't actually hear on the record because we kind of just decided to launch into the verse when we released this track. But we took the intro and resampled it by throwing it up an octave, putting it through some different sort of processing, delays, reverbs, and all that stuff. So here's what that sounds like. And then another. So again, kind of just a lot of bright sort of information. And the reason for that choice as well is because we wanted to make it so that way you could feel it in the top end, especially when all the rest of the instruments were kind of filling out that low end. So this resampled intro, let's just hear that real quick as the transition to get us from the pre-chorus going into the second chorus. So here we go.
Let's just be real. I think we should stay in.
So you could hear it there for sure, but it wasn't something that was overly present in the track, you know? This one's pretty interesting because it is the resampled intro and it gives us essentially the last chorus. It's the breakdown part of the chorus. So let's just check it out real quick without the rest of the tracks. Again, soft, but in that bright sort of EQ part. I would almost suggest that this specific part is a little bit more along the lines of growth than I would suggest the transition, but the little part before it, that's obviously a transition. So let's just hear that in context with the rest of the track there. Again, very bright.
Just hear me out.
So yeah, that's our transitions. It's a way of being able to pull the listener in so that way we can get them ready for the next part. So where do you actually get ear candy? Well, you can get it from a variety of different places, as we've seen in our own productions, but you can also make it on your own with your own effects units and whatnot. There are plenty of plugins out there. There's also plenty of hardware units. I think some cool guitar pedals can definitely go a long way. And it's the reason why I have a selection of different gear that I can use to get some different sounds. So let's just take a look real quick at my pedal board and just make some stuff up with it. Okay, so let's get into it. So we have a few different options here. I'm not going to run through how all these different pedals work because that's kind of not what the point of this video is. I'm just going to use a few of them just to kind of see what happens. So the first thing is just using the pedals on their own. So we can actually get some really cool sounds from things like our delays if we do things like just turn up the feedback like pretty extensively. That's a pretty cool and interesting sort of sound, you know? You don't have to just use a specific sound source. You can make it from just a couple different things, you know? Here's another way to kind of view this. Already really cool. Let's turn down the spring. That makes it obviously a lot less ethereal. A little bit cleaner. Let's keep up the spring again. Let's go even a little bit weirder. Let's turn up the repeats and try to use it in a somewhat of a musical way where we're making actual notes and stuff. So here's what that's going to sound like, you know. It's really hard to tune that, obviously, by pit or by main. It's hard to tune that manually. So what we have here is a piano being led through all these different guitar pedals, and so we're going to just try and make up some cool sort of sounds and see what happens with a bit of this outboard gear. So here we go. I'm actually not sure what happened there, but it's now operating the way I want it to, so that's fine. Still not sure I feel like I'm glitching out right now, but I don't actually know. A little bit lost for words because I'm not used to what's happening here, which seems to be, I think it's a bit of glitching, but maybe I'm wrong. Here we go. Let's just experiment, see what happens. I think I'm going to leave that be. So that pretty much wraps up the video. I just want you to take away from this that ear candy is not just a collection of random sounds in the song. You should be asking yourself, how does the ear candy support the track in the best way possible, whether it's a transition, whether it's growing a track, or whether it's part of the entire identity of that section. Once you know the job, the sound choices become a lot easier. So yeah, that's it for today's video. If you like what you heard, like, comment, subscribe, share, the whole works, whatever it is. Let me know if you have any questions or anything. I'd be more than happy to leave any sort of answers in the comments down below. Also, as a side note, I recently released a drum sample pack called Beef, and it's kind of based around this idea of sound exploration too. I have 4 different processing styles that I took my drum kit here that's been in this video the whole time and recorded it in a variety of different ways through a bunch of different sort of sound processing. So feel free to go and check that out as well. That'll be in the link in the description. I'll see you on the next one.